Hi chickens, I hope the week's treating you well. I just had a tarot reading on Sunday and it was really beneficial for me. I really loved it. It was my first tarot reading for almost a year and it just posited some advice that I really needed to hear. I haven't had that many tarot readings, which might surprise some people considering how tarot obsessed I really am. But there have been a few times in the past where I've really hankered after a reading, but I haven't been able to find that reader that really resonated with me at that time, so I haven't gone ahead and bought one. Or a lot of the time, when I really want a reading, when I really want some objective advice from a spiritual guide of some kind, it's when I'm going through a very transitory time, when a lot of changes are occurring. So often I might feel that I'm in too much of a frantic headspace to really shop around for a reader that resonates with me and the kind of reading that I want. So that's why I've missed out on some opportunities before to get readings to help me to kind of work my way through certain situations. But I have had one or two. The first thing I'd say is I think it's important to find a reader that really resonates with you. I think it's important to look not only at feedback and testimonials and stuff like that. Yes, that can be important, but there are a lot of new readers on the scene who don't have that kind of thing yet, who are also very proficient, very good at what they do. So the best thing I'd suggest you do if you're buying online from anybody is to have a look at their profile, have a look at what they're actually saying about what they do with tarot and about the kind of reader they are and about the kind of readings that they like to achieve with their clients. I think that's important. I think if you are looking for a face-to-face reader, you should have a chat with them about what they provide and what their background is, what kind of readings they like to do. Have a think about the format that you want your reading to be in. Yes, some people do favour the face-to-face thing, but sometimes it's not that easy to find, and other times people might feel shy, might feel that they can't really open up about the issue and they can't really be communicative. There are a few reasons why people would prefer to go with a reader online. And online you have several options. Obviously you have the Skype option where it's live. You can record that if you want to as well. You can get the person giving the reading to record it so you can keep it. You can have a video reading that's pre-recorded and then posted either publicly or privately for you. You can have an email reading. It just really depends what kind of format you like. I like to personally think about the way that I best absorb information, which is why I always like to find a reader that can do email readings for me, because I really enjoy just slowly reading through at my own pace. And I enjoy that because it's kind of minimal distraction, and also because I'm a very keen reader, so I kind of take words in more when they're down on the page. I can also, if I choose to, print out the reading, highlight things, make notes, that kind of thing, add things in. So that's another way in which I feel the information really goes in. And I also feel like with email readings, for me personally, there's a much bigger chance that I will return to the reading in months or years time and reread than it would be if it was a video. For me it's just something that I can return back to more easily. But it's a very personal choice, so try and decide what kind of format you'd like. Even if you've never had a reading before, you can kind of imagine what kind of reader you'd like, what kind of reading you'd like to go for, how you want the reading to make you feel, and also what kind of format you'd like. So just have a think about it before you click add to cart on anything. I would also suggest, as an aside, try to avoid those one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter automated readings that you get on certain sites. I think you can probably know the kind of sites that I mean, where you just kind of put in your name and your date of birth, or you put in your issue, but what you get back is kind of a very immediate response, which is a mishmash of several automated pieces of script that come from electronically randomly chosen cards. Avoid that if you want any kind of real guidance or real advice. I understand that they're free and I understand that they're immediate, but there's nobody behind them doing the work. There's nobody behind them who feels empathy for your situation, who wants to guide and help you through your situation. So there's really no point. It's not going to be a really in-depth reading. It's not going to be geared towards you and your specific situation. It's much better to shop around for a reader who fits your vibe and your energy and who fits your price range, sorry, and go with them. I strongly recommend not touching those automated reading things because they're just nasty. If you want serious advice, then you need a serious reader who's serious about their craft. Another thing it's important to think about is whether or not you're actually ready for a reading of any kind. What I would suggest is, if you are looking for a reading off the back of something that's been quite traumatic, that's been quite emotionally challenging, if you're at a very transitional period in your life, if you're very up and down, if you're confused, if you don't know what's coming next, make sure that you are open, that you will be open to the messages that a reading is going to posit to you. Because although readings are generally very compassionate, very empathetic, very nurturing and comforting, and full of lots of food for thought and lots of advice, they can also be quite challenging. They can ask you to change your perspective on things, to open up your options, to have a look at things in a new way. And if you're not ready to take those more challenging messages to heart, then the reading won't be 100% useful for you. And it's okay to not be ready to have a reading. It's okay to not be ready to hear a contrary opinion of any kind. And it's okay to not be ready to face up to certain things, as long as you face up to the fact that you are not ready to face up to those certain things in the kind of challenging environment, energetic environment that is created between a reader and a client. I think that's important. Don't waste your money. If you only want to hear the one answer that you're kind of looking for, don't waste your money, because a tarot reading will normally get you skirting around the issue in a new way, or going through the labyrinth in a new way, and that's kind of the point of it. That's part of the point of it. So if you're not ready for that, and if you don't feel you're going to be receptive towards that, wait until a time when you are, because the reading will be much more nurturing if you wait until that time. And also try and think about the last time that you had a reading as well. Was it quite a long time ago? Do you feel that that last reading that you had has had a chance for those messages to absorb? If you had a reading very, very recently and you feel that it didn't resonate with you, or that you didn't click with the reader, or you didn't read the kind of things that were very helpful or particularly productive, don't be tempted to go straight out and get another reading. I would suggest sitting with that reading that you've had for a while, perhaps revisiting it in a week or so, or in a month or so. Slowly let it unfold with you as your life unfolds, because I think a great many people would be willing to testify to the fact that they have had a reading of some kind at one time or another that didn't seem to resonate with their situation, or didn't seem to be as helpful as they wanted it to be. And then they read it back in a month's time and they realise that so much has slotted into place that they weren't even prepared to concede at the time. Certain nuggets of gold were in that reading that they just weren't prepared to take on, or weren't prepared to look at. Maybe they weren't seeing their life in the way that the tarot reader was positing that they saw it for themselves, in an intuitive sense, and then when they come back to it in a month or so, everything's clicked into place. So that's a very interesting experience, and I would recommend definitely not going straight out and getting another reading if you weren't satisfied with the one that you had. Obviously the reading that you had should have come from an empathetic place. It should have come from a place of genuine guidance and pure intention. But if you didn't read things that you felt really clicked in with the situation, just wait a while. Definitely wait a while, because I think absorbing too many conflicting messages from too many different readers is not helpful. So try and stick with the advice, or stick with the guidance, even if at first it doesn't seem to really gel with you. The first reading, sorry I keep looking down, I've hurt my finger. I was picking something up and I dropped it. The first reading that I ever had online was about 2 years ago. I'm just going to talk to you now about 3 readings. I'm going to give 2 recommendations, but I'll talk about my first experience first off. It was about 2 years ago and I found the reader on Etsy. I didn't really look a great deal into the kind of readings they offered, but I think that was because they weren't massively specific about that. However, they did have quite a bit of good feedback, so I was comfortable with that, although I feel the profile was maybe a little scarce in the kind of information it offered. So I went for a reading with this reader, and I can't remember what my specific questions were, because I think it might even have been beyond 2 years ago now. I think it's probably heading up to 3 years ago. It was certainly before I opened my shop and before I had my own blog. So I had this reading and it didn't really click with me. First of all, I felt that the messages that the guy was positing were kind of mechanistic. I didn't feel that they were tied in enough with my personal situation. And the second thing that I wondered to myself was whether or not he had actually looked me up online, because at that time I had quite a popular style blog and I was all over that style blog in my clothes. That style blog has now become my eco-fashion blog, which I'm working on new content for, but at the time it was a style blog which was about kind of like retro and vintage and secondhand fashion and how to put outfits together, and my face and my wardrobe was kind of central to what that blog was all about. And several times during this tarot reading, the guy told me that I had a lot of style. I don't know why he kept referring to that word, style. It seemed really odd and kind of a little bit, I don't know if it wasn't really relating much to anything else. It just kept saying, I can see that you have a lot of style, that you're very wary of your self-image and things like that. And I kind of clicked, the penny kind of dropped, and I thought, oh God, he's Googled me and seen that I'm a style blogger, that must be it, because where else would that possibly be coming from? Perhaps that's cynical, okay, and I will accept that. I will accept that if it's an accusation that's levelled against me by anybody. But I have had readings from incredibly intuitive readers, and I consider myself to be an intuitive reader. And those readings were bang on, and I know for a fact that that couldn't have come anywhere else but from heart level. But when you're asking somebody about your emotional state and they keep referring to the fact that you're stylish and you have a style blog online, I think maybe, that's a little bit obvious. So, I kind of, that first experience wasn't fantastic, I'll admit. The second experience I had with having a reading online was last July, and I got a reading from Kimi at Autumn Star Moon. And that reading was fantastic. It was really, really nurturing. I remember a few key things from it, which I'll just take you through here. First of all, she suggested that I needed to be journaling a lot, and that I needed to be sitting with spirit and just writing out what spirit was saying, sitting with my thoughts, really kind of like, I don't know, fusing out the white noise and just sitting there writing from heart level. And that really resonated with me because I've been thinking for a really long time how little I actually journaled at that time in my life. I have so many journals. Underneath my bed is absolutely stacked with journals that I've been keeping since I was 12 years old. I've always had a diary. I've always written about my life, my thoughts, my goals, my pursuits. And for some reason, a few years ago, that kind of died off. I started writing a lot more fiction, and I kind of posited my biography, if you like, into that. But I didn't have a journal. I didn't have a place where I was really writing things down raw, just from me to the paper, with no kind of flowery associations, no characters, no scenes, just me and the diary. So the fact that she opened with that was very meaningful to me because I'd really been worrying about where my raw expression really was, where had it gone to, because it used to be so therapeutic for me, and I'd stopped it, and that was kind of bothering me. So the fact that she tuned into that was really impressive. She also said that, sorry, my boyfriend's Facebook's on, how embarrassing. She also said that I was sacrificing my needs for the needs of others, which at the time I felt I couldn't really click into anything specific. And she went further along that road, but I won't say exactly what she actually stated because it's kind of personal, but what she stated was bang on. I came back to the reading a month later and I couldn't believe how organically it had fit into my life and what was going on with me. So that was incredible, and it really got me thinking about how I actually need to place my needs into the driver's seat and work out how to work other people's needs out around my own rather than so much the other way around. She also said that I needed to get back to the grassroots of my spirituality. She said the word witch just keeps coming up for me. If you identify as a witch, if that's anything that you've ever felt like, you need to get back in touch with the basics. And that was when I really started thinking about re-owning the word witch and actually talking about it on the channel and all that kind of thing. So that was where it really started. I read that and I thought that is something I've been thinking about and pondering over and wondering about for ages, and she's really hit the nail on the head. When she said the grassroots of your beliefs, I thought, yes, that is actually the exact word combination that I needed. That is what I need to hear. So, yeah, Kimi from Autumn Star Moon, incredible email readings. Go and pick one up if you are in need of some guidance, or if you are in need of some confirmation of what your intuition is telling you. Anything like that. It was very, very illuminating. On Sunday, just gone, I had a reading from Carla at Rowan Tarot. I will put links for both of these lovely women in the bar underneath. That was really incredible as well. I was really happy with the cards that I got. The cards that I got, in fact, made a lot of sense to me, although I do try and keep my own interpretations to the back of my mind. I don't link anything together because obviously I'm reasonably proficient at tarot, so I just let that go. And I just let their intuition flow over me like a wave. That is always what I do. If they let me know what cards I received and I'm aware of the deck that they're using, I will never start putting my own interpretation into play. Never. It's all about intuition for me. And if I'm paying for somebody else's intuitive thought and guidance, that's what I want. That's what I'm going for. But yeah, it was incredible. She talked a lot about perfectionism, which was a side of me that I'd never even thought about before, about my self-sabotage. That's what I asked her to kind of tune into that and tap into that. She talked about how I tend to want to complete low priorities or put low priorities at the top of my list, and how that's essentially because there's less risk of failure in those priorities, and it's about that perfectionism and that desire for control of the outcome that makes me not want to risk myself and my soul and my ego on those high priorities that really need to get done. This is incredibly insightful and something that I wouldn't have put together on my own, and that objective advice that I really, really needed. She also talked about how success of any kind probably produces a kind of obligation or trap for me. It seems so beautiful from the outside, but when I actually get what I want, then I'd rather do anything but that thing, because it presents this trap, it presents this sense of obligation. That again was incredible. It was a very illuminating moment when I read that. It just, getting a reading of any kind when you feel like you're at some transitory period, or there's some time in your life where you really need that guidance from an outside source, you need a mirror to be held up to you. It is so worth it to just find a reader that you resonate with, find a reader whose words speak to you, whose profile speaks to you, whose videos you watch, anything, and get a reading from them, because it really is so nurturing, and it's something that I will keep doing again and again. And I know that I will go back to both Carla and Kimi in the future when I feel I have concerns or focus areas that I know that one of them could definitely um, give me some really valuable meaty advice on, some advice I can really do something with. But you know, as I said before, you need to be receptive to it. You need to want to be challenged, you need to want to do some work, because the tarot reading is only the starting point. It's only for that initial moment in time. The longer term work comes from what you get out of that reading and what you get out of that connection with the reader. So that's where the magic really starts to happen, if you like. Thanks for listening, guys. Let me know about your personal experiences if you want to below. Come over and see me on the blog. You have a day or two to subscribe to my newsletter if you haven't already, before I send the very first one. And I think I am going to be doing a private video of sorts to link into the newsletter. So if you want to see that video, subscribe to the newsletter. I'm really excited about getting started with it. It's going to be great. What else do I have to tell you? Or not a lot. I listed some intuitive crystal readings on my Etsy site. I've been working with 14 key crystals now, on and off, for quite some time, and I'm really starting to get to grips with them. I'm really starting to feel very comfortable with them. I've tried a couple of freehand crystal readings for people, and the results have been incredibly positive, so I'm really excited to be able to offer them as well. And I have Tarot for Life. The second Tarot for Life e-zine is in the works and will be out in about a week or so. So thank you so much to everybody who's bought the first issue so far. It really means absolutely everything to me. And for those of you who left feedback saying that it was useful, that it was informative, that the artwork was nice, or that you're looking forward to issue 2, thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really feel very humbled by that. It's very sweet of you. Okay, thanks for your time, guys. Bye for now. Blessed be.